Hi everyone, maths homework time. I'd just like to initially draw your attention to this whole part model that you saw last week. This is really key in year 1 maths. If you come into any one of our classrooms, you will find a whole stack of these laminated. We return to these again and again and again. But just a word of caution, if you're using them at home, and we really appreciate any practice that you do with your children using these whole part models. If you are, numbers work really well in the boxes, so you might say that 7 is equal to 5 and 2 and draw those numbers into the boxes, or you might use, as you do in school, real world objects, whatever they are, Smarties, marshmallows, sugar cubes, whatever you like. This is your hole. You put the hole in here and then you move the objects into the parts. I hope that makes sense. Or we can do it the other way. We start with our objects in the parts and we move it to the hole. The moving of objects is really important so that you're not putting, say, 5 objects in here and then saying 5 is equal to 3 and 2 and adding 3 more and adding 2 more, because then you've actually used 10 objects and it causes some misconceptions and some problems for some children. So if we avoid that and we just think about the moving or the numbers, that's great, thank you. So moving on to this week's task, we will be looking at addition and subtraction using the whole part model and how we can get these equations, these different equations, from the same whole part model. So again, we haven't given you any equations to complete with your child because we want your child to think of mathematical stories. Now, I did say to keep the Snow White picture from last week, so if you've still got it, great. If you've not got it, don't start printing it out now, but I will demonstrate this week how to use some real world examples. The Snow White picture is just fabulous because it has so many mathematical concepts inside it. Your child can think of all sorts of different stories, but I firmly believe that homework could be done at the kitchen table, but it could also be done in the car, it could also be done on a walk. If maths is all around us, we can do our maths homework wherever we are. I also think that a few minutes here and there is much better than a big session at the weekend. So, my maths story is going to be about conkers because my children are a bit mad about conkers at the minute. We have collected so many. We're going to be doing a lot of counting with conkers this weekend. So they're all there, they've all been washed and we're going to use them. Now, my math story might be that I have 10 conkers and I'm going to give 6 to Lilia and 6 to Aiden. So that looks like this in a whole part model. I have 10 conkers, 6 are for Lilia and 4 for Aiden. I think I just switch those round, but never mind. Okay, 10 conkers, 6 is apart and 4 is apart. So if we look at what that looks like with our actions, 10 is the whole, 6 is apart, 4 is apart. Okay, 6 is apart, 4 is apart, 10 is a whole. If they've got this, hopefully the addition is the same as last week and hopefully that's easy to come out of that. So we've got it here. We've got the part and the part is equal to the whole. So we can quickly do 6 and 4 is equal to 10. Or we can do 10 is equal to 4 and 6. I've just changed this around. Now moving on to the harder part, the subtraction. They've been doing it all week in school and your child will be really familiar with the phrase, we always subtract from the whole. We use this phrase over and over again. I will be saying it in my sleep. We always subtract from the whole. Because sometimes and often what children want to do and what we naturally say is start with the biggest number. You don't mean that. You don't mean start the equation with the biggest number because as you'll see, sometimes we start with the part. So we always subtract from the whole. At the end of the equation, when the child's done it, ask them, did you subtract from the whole? So let's look at it. Here we've got the whole, subtract a part. So we might say 10 subtract 6 is equal to 4. Okay, here you can see again the colours are really helping us to work out where we put that whole. Or we could say 6 is equal to the whole 10 subtract 4. We've got another equation out of that. Now you can see there are more equations. We're just asking the children to use the whole part model to come up with 4. And what I would do if I was working with my child, great, then I'm going to rub it all out. I can't find my rubber, and we'll think of a different math story. We might do it there and then, or we might do it at another time. I might have actually just drawn this on a piece of paper and he's making equations out of it. Whatever way you do it is great. Now, if your child is finding that really, really easy, which it's not, it's quite tricky, but if they are flying, take away the colour support, they will find it more difficult. Just encourage them. If they're finding that really tricky, often it's because the addition and subtraction at the same time is causing them some difficulty. So I have also attached just a whole part model with just 2 subtractions. You can go back to that and see if they can do that a bit better. If that helps your child, move on to the mix a little bit later in the week, because they do need to get to this stage. Okay, I hope you find that useful and I hope you enjoy this week's maths homework. As always, any feedback, pass it to your teachers, they'll pass it on to me, and I'll see you next week.